To say. Just a quick word on the tests so far. 16,463 tests have been taken. 16,458 have been concluded. 5 people awaiting results of a test. There are 9 people awaiting a test. And so far there are 9 people, non-community cases of COVID-19, all self-isolating. So here we are today. Archie and Thomas and Hal and Harrison, Emily, Lucy, Ava and Ailish, live from Castle Rushen High School. First of all, I want to go to Harrison today. Now, first of all, you play for Castletown, is that right?
Yes, I do.
How many goals have you scored so far?
I've scored 2 for the first team this season. I've just been out 6 weeks with a concussion. So I'm only just a concussion, yeah.
How did you do that?
So I was going for a goal, and then the goalkeeper comes out, and I just take a massive head collision on the floor. And because I've got a history of them, the hospital look, you've got to stay out for 6 weeks.
A history of head
collisions, yeah. I used to play rugby for the school in the lower school, and I'd take a lot of head injuries. So the more concussions I have, the longer they want you to take off for like your head to recover and that. So I've only just now returned to playing football.
Great. And
yeah.
When's your next match?
Well, it would be this Saturday,
right.
But I'm still not allowed to play.
Who do you support Premier League-wise?
Premier League, yeah. I follow and support Liverpool.
Okay, and how do you think they're doing this season?
Well, we've had a string of injuries. I think that's not very good. Other than that, I think they can stay on top. As long as we keep the squad depth, then they can stay at the top.
Best player?
Best player at the moment, Diogo Jota.
Okay. Howell's next year as well. You're a Liverpool fan as well, aren't you?
Yeah.
How do you feel about this Premier League coverage with no crowds?
It's definitely different, but they've adapted pretty well. But I just think it's a lot different this season as well because there's the pay-per-view games, like £15 a ticket.
Yeah.
I think that's just.
Have you got Sky at home?
Yeah, I do, but like they won't cover some games. You still have to pay £15.
Yeah.
I think that's ridiculous.
I mean, when do you think it's all going to get back to normal?
Well, with England going into another lockdown, I think it'll be a while still.
Now, you had somebody. Do you know somebody or somebody in the family had COVID?
Just a couple of friends have had it. Yeah.
Okay. How badly?
Well, some have just been like asymptomatic, like aches and stuff, but others have been like quite bad.
How old?
Mainly more my age, mainly younger.
How bothered are you about COVID?
At the moment on the Isle of Man, not too bad, but if it got in the community, I'd be a bit more.
And when you look at what's happening in the rest of the world with COVID, how do you think we've handled it on the island?
Obviously, really well, but I just think it could go wrong again. You don't know.
I mean, of course, it's important to you because you had a summertime of. What did you do for lessons in the summer?
Because it was our exams and the exams got cancelled. We basically had 6 months where we didn't.
Did you do any work?
Well, I did stuff for like before A levels, with if I got sent work and stuff. But
okay, Emily's with us as well. How did you cope with the lockdown and schoolwork?
Well, I didn't have any schoolwork to do, so I set myself.
What did you do?
I set myself personal projects. So I aimed to write a comic at one point. Didn't go very well, and I tried to do an animation. So I've tried to teach myself how to animate because it's something I want to go on and do.
Teach yourself to animate?
Yeah.
How did you do that?
I downloaded an Adobe program, so they've got quite a few, and there's loads of tutorials on them, which I found really helpful.
What are you aiming to do?
I want to go to uni and I want to study illustration with animation and then go down one of those routes. Don't know which one.
Which university is best for that?
Either Manchester Metropolitan or London Metropolitan.
And how do you feel about COVID at the moment?
At the moment, if it continues this way when I'm off to uni, which isn't for a couple of years, I think I'll stay on Ireland for a year and do the college foundation course. Otherwise, I want to get off as soon as I can. It's just a bit hit and miss at the moment. I wouldn't want to go anywhere else. Okay,
Ailish is with us as well. And where are you going? Have you planned to go to university?
Yeah, I want to study history at university.
Whereabouts? Do you know where you want to go?
I want to go to sort of York, Durham, maybe St Andrews, that sort of universities.
York, by extension, the Isle of Man, York is apparently, isn't it? Yeah. So,
Well, most of my family lives across in the UK, so we're obviously all worried about them because some of them live in London, and it's quite a high rates in London at the moment. But on the Isle of Man, we're all okay, and so I'm not too worried about it where we are at the moment.
Ailish, how are you feeling about the next president of the United States?
Well, I hope that it will be Biden. It's looking like it should be from the polls that we've been seeing.
Why do you want it to be Joe Biden?
Because I really just don't like Trump. He's a racist, homophobic man, and I don't support him.
Well, he's been the president for most of your adult life now as well. Do you remember who was president before?
Yeah, Obama was president before.
And the difference between Donald Trump and Barack Obama?
I feel like Obama cares more for the people of America, whereas Donald Trump he only looks out for himself and his friends.
Ava Shaw is next as well. Ava,
Yes.
who do you think is going to be the next president of the United States?
Joe Biden. I'm praying to God, because if it's Donald Trump, I don't know. Everything's in the bin. America's in the bin. Economically, it's in the bin. If Trump carries on and has another 4 years, it's terrifying, because there's so much he could do that's bad.
What would you say if in front of you was somebody from Texas or Alabama or Florida who'd voted for Donald Trump? What would you say to them?
I'd probably scream. I'd be really angry. I'd say, why have you done this? Because he's a horrible man.
So if Joe Biden's president, he's got to knit America back together again, because there's been a partisan split, hasn't there?
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, it's not just people disagreeing with people, it's people getting really involved in it. How would a politician do that?
It seems like because it's so, everything's on social media and everyone uses social media and there's so much propaganda everywhere. It seems like everyone thinks that they're right, and there's such a big divide that I don't know how Biden could do it.
What social media are you on?
I use Twitter.
You post on Twitter, do you?
I don't post, but I use it to look at like what politicians are saying, because Trump obviously tweets all the time.
Are you on Facebook?
Yeah, but I don't really use it that much.
Instagram?
Kind of. I don't post that much on anything. But I have a lot of the apps because my friends use them, but I don't post at all.
Lucy's next to you as well. What's the name of that Pakistani bowler?
Naseem Shah.
Naseem Shah. Now, very pretty to look at, or a very good bowler? Which category?
Well, I mean both, really. As a bowler for Pakistan, he's quite talented. Definitely coming up in the next few years, I'm hoping that he will do well. But obviously, if he beats England, that's not very good.
So, are you a cricket fan?
I like watching it. I think it's quite... I mean, I can never watch a whole test, but the highlights are good. There's no, faff in between.
And who do you think is going to be the next president?
Anyone but Trump. Anybody. I wouldn't even... It could be Kanye West. It could be Joe Biden. Anybody but Trump.
Well, we'll see. And how has COVID affected you?
No exams. That was a big stress for me, definitely.
Why?
I put in so much work just from December to January, March. And when I was told, none of it's going to happen, it just really took a hit.
And in terms of university, where are you looking forward to going?
York or Durham, hopefully up north.
Tell me, how have the school been with you over the past few months?
It was a bit strange because it felt like every other year group was getting a lot of attention kind of from the school, here's work to do for year 9s, and as a year 11 and a year 13 it felt like we were getting a bit left out and we'd just been missed because everyone else was getting all the focus from the teachers on how to get online learning, and a lot of the time it just felt like we were glazed over.
Did you have to do it yourself?
It was just because of your exams aren't happening, just wait until September.
And how was the online learning facility?
From what I heard from friends and other people, it was a bit hit or miss. Some teachers would be really supportive with you and some wouldn't, and it would be hard to get contact and hard to get support, especially in a kind of distanced manner over the internet.
Thomas Curfey is with us as well. Now, Liverpool fan?
Yes.
Okay. And how do you feel about this no crowd thing?
Well,
It's got to be done.
Oh, you say you're the person who watches it with no crowd
Yeah.
noise.
I like to hear what the players are saying, and it's more atmosphere. Well, you
It's
can
like
hear them
watching
on the
a
pitch.
training game.
No, the fake sound noise is just so. You can feel how fake it is.
Well,
It
they've
doesn't
taken it
sound right.
from Premier League Manager, haven't they? They've got it from computer games. That's where it's come from.
And it doesn't sound right.
Okay. Has COVID affected you at all? Do you know anybody who's had it?
Not really. No, I think the biggest way it's affected me is just not being able to go away, and it's starting to feel like the cure is worse than the disease. You know.
And where would you go away? Where would you be going?
Well, I usually go on holiday in the summer, and then have lots of trips away to visit relatives, but
Right.
it's just difficult now.
So what's kind of been stuck on the Isle of Man is bothering you, is it?
Yeah, it's a nice place, but being stuck here, it's not the best.
And in terms of university, Thomas, where are you looking forward to going?
I don't have a real idea of where yet, but I do want to go away, just somewhere that's decent, like top
Are
university.
you on social media, by the way?
Yes. Yeah.
What do you post or do you just look?
Some social media I post, more looking, I suppose.
Who do you follow?
Lots of people.
Twitter?
Yeah.
You follow footballers?
Not footballers, mainly just the clubs.
What are you hoping to do when you go to uni, by the way?
I'm not too sure, to be honest. Probably something to do with politics, maybe law. I'm undecided at the minute. I think just gonna work this year and then have a better idea later.
What's your feeling about the US presidential election?
I feel like it's a bit of a lose-lose situation, whether it's Biden or Trump. Preferably for me, Trump, because I think he's gone in the head. He's too old. He's forgetful. And I think Trump, pre-COVID, had done an excellent job in reducing unemployment and getting the economy back on track. However, he does have his flaws as a character, so there's lots that can be
By
said.
definition, what you're saying is if Biden becomes president, Kamala Harris is standing by to become president, which will make her, A, the first female, and B, the first person of colour, the first female of colour to be president as well. How do you feel about that?
Well, she's an ex, worked with the police, and obviously that is, in America at the minute, that's not ideal. That's not what a lot of people wanted, but I suppose they could look past that. And I think progressively America needs to change. A female president would be good for them. I think if you look at how female leaders around the world have handled COVID, it could be argued that they've done it better. So,
Harrison, what were you going to say?
I was going to say that if I'm a student on the Isle of Man, I shouldn't have to worry about the president of a country who's thousands of miles away. I think it's me being anxious for another 4 years. I wouldn't like it. I mean,
You'd be anxious.
I'd be anxious if Trump won. If you look at what the tensions that were rising in January when he almost went into Iran, that made me feel anxious on a global scale, and it shouldn't be like that. The Prime Minister of New Zealand has handled COVID excellently, and when you say that Trump's handled COVID, he hasn't. They've got the largest number of cases. You said that.
I said before COVID.
Before COVID, but still.
Okay,
Trump has not.
Archie Elliott's here as well. Archie, what do you think about the President of the United States and the election?
Well, as Tom said, it is a lose-lose situation. There's no beneficial winner from it. And I think it's not for us to maybe meddle in other countries' affairs. It is the American people's decision to elect a president that best represents them. And whatever they go with, that is what democracy says.
How do you feel about the fact that it's become very partisan and there doesn't seem to be any nuance of opinion? People are either violently pro-Trump or violently against him.
I think it's such a shame because having a very partisan split doesn't allow for that difference of opinion. That's why if I was to support any candidate in the US presidential election, I couldn't vote for Trump, I couldn't vote for Biden. I'd vote for Joe Jorgensen, who's a third-party candidate with the Libertarian Party, because I could not bring myself to vote for either Trump or Biden, who are both getting quite old. They don't necessarily represent the views of the majority of the population, and it's time for someone fresh, someone new.
How do you think the Isle of Man's handled COVID, Archie?
I was quite surprised how the Isle of Man handled COVID in the beginning. I didn't think the government's taking their past stance on climate change would act quite quickly, but I must say they've done a superb job, a sterling job so far, and I think the community which is pulled together has really helped.
And I saw the message you sent yesterday about the climate change. Tell me, the organisation you're part of is?
The Isle of Man Student Climate Network.
And got no representation in the body enacted by the government, is that right?
Exactly. The Climate Change Citizens Forum, which was formed to kind of get a citizen's view on climate change, has no one in the under 18 bracket. They have one person in the 18 to 25, I think it's 21, 22. And over 20% of the population has no one in that forum. It's not a representative view, and we're quite disappointed at the government not engaging us as the youth. And ultimately, we will be voting next year in the elections.
Of course, you'll be voting next year. You could be standing next year as well.
No, unfortunately not. You have to be 18 to stand, and I fall about 6 months short.
Oh, Archie.
Such a
Lucy,
shame.
what were you going to say?
Just back to Thomas's point. You're saying you support Trump as a president, but you wouldn't be a supporter of Biden, and then who would come after him as the first female and first person of colour in presidential. You said that you can't support him because he's gone in the head, but you are willing to support Trump, who is racist, homophobic, friends with Harvey Epstein. Jeffrey. So I'm so sorry. How can you say that you support Trump when he said all those things, but you can't support Biden?
Well, I think what he was saying was that obviously Biden's 77 years of age. He's going to be the oldest president that there's been. Ronald Reagan, they thought Ronald Reagan was old when he became president. Trump has always painted Joe Biden as Sleepy Joe. In the fact that he's old and he may not be able to cope with the pressures of that situation. So sorry again, Thomas.
Yeah, I didn't say I supported Donald Trump. I said he's the best of the two options. So, I mean, you've mistaken what I've said. I definitely believe that Americans, they can't really win from this election. And I feel always with American elections, with a two-party system, you're never really going to get the best candidate for the country.
Okay, right, we're live at Castle Rushen High School today. The students of Year 12 talking about all sorts of things, and we're back in a moment.